Good morning from glamorous home base, where we're picking up a carpet cleaner, as is everyone else. It's obviously very busy, it being a Saturday morning, nobody's here. So, and I've managed to get a cold somewhere along the way, so that's exciting. But it's a nice day, and aside from working tomorrow afternoon, going to try and have a constructive but not too full-on weekend.
Welcome to another episode of Toby's Stupid Vlog.
Welcome to a baby room assembly day. You'll notice the carpet is completely clear, although not completely clean, which is why we have this device. We'll be doing some rug doctoring, and similarly in the hallway in just a moment. And then we're going to reassemble everything in here and make it look a bit more like a baby's room. Hi there, good afternoon. So, I will show you the baby's room in a moment, now that it's been cleaned and assembled and whatnot. Still needs a rug and things putting on the wall, but it's starting to feel like an actual small person's bedroom, which is good. The other thing to note is that baby brain is very real, and it doesn't just affect mothers. I mean, we literally just went to M&S to buy the other ingredients to have fajitas, and when we left, after about 200 metres, we were like, do we actually have any fajita bread? Like any wraps? No, we don't. So Crystal's gone back to buy them. It's actually, I think where it stems from is that you are constantly a bit tired. And you could argue, why the hell are you tired? I mean, there's not even a baby here yet. But, so, I mean, my excuse is that I've been travelling last week and I've got a bit of a cold and we've done a lot today. But it's not a great excuse, granted, but I am quite tired. Crystal's excuse is she's carrying a small human, and that's quite sleep disruptive and what have you. So that's a reasonable excuse. But suffices to say that it just does affect your thinking quite dramatically. Forgive the cold. We have a crib, obviously, complete with demonstration of baby size. That's been assembled today. Changing table, which has on it like a load of random things we haven't unpacked, and some boxes and some nappies and what have you. Obviously, laundry baskets. We've got some photos we need to put on the wall. The clothes have all gone into the cupboard, mostly up there, so that's good. And we need some more. I mean, it needs a rug and it needs a few more pretty things and maybe like a nicer lampshade, but it now looks like a bedroom again, so that's really exciting. Hi, happy Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon. All of the largest sporting events of the year are happening right now in England, and I'm going to work. So I'm going to pick up some kit, and then I'm off to the Honourable Artillery Company, which is somewhere in EC1, central East London, and doing some things there. And when I get back, I'm going to sleep because my cold is sort of slightly dissipating, but it's still been a bit of an energy zap the last couple of days, especially the amount of work we've been doing. Haven't been down here in about a month since I did all the pre-Wimbledon documentaries and things. It's looking as it does often in July, because a bit of heat, a little bit worn, still very green, but some of the plants are looking a bit tired. Like they're probably very glad that it rained last night, unscheduled, out of nowhere. Although, I mean, doubly glad, as everybody is, that it isn't like last summer, which was great for the first 2 weeks and then very difficult to cope with. We don't have the infrastructure in this country to deal with it. We don't have the sort of levels of air conditioning, and we don't have a sort of social awareness on how to behave in the sun. So people just turn into lobsters. But still, it's been a nice summer so far, and I've been travelling here and there, and a week on Tuesday we're off to Italy and then Switzerland, so it continues temporarily for the time being. we go, Nine Strats. This is the Omni Artillery Company, which is why there is guns and spears and coats of armour and all sorts. People are just outside at the moment, enjoying their drinkies, and they're just about to come in. Check out this. It's pretty intense, isn't it? Yes, so we have just had our dinner in this room here, which is got a picture of the Queen in it, hence its name, and lots of nice coats of arms. You know I'm a big fan. England have just won the cricket, so I'll show you a cricket pitch. There we go. It's quite impressive, isn't it? I mean, the artillery cannons are also reasonably impressive. You know, it's a firing range when it's not a cricket pitch. So whilst yesterday was quite interesting, and you know, it's always nice to have work and a million bits of sport, and you know, England won the Cricket World Cup, that's quite impressive. Despite all of that, I'm still very glad it's Monday, which is a weird thing to say, but today is much more low stress. Afternoon, so I really need to get out this afternoon. I have been indoors for the last 2 days working on various things, constantly flicking from one to the other, podcasts and videos and all sorts, and I kept thinking, oh, I'll just finish this and then I'll nip out, and it hasn't happened. So it's now Tuesday afternoon and I'm finally leaving the flat, going somewhere other than Marks and Spencer's to buy food. So this feels like a massive victory, and I'm going to see how long I can keep this going. So a post 5 o'clock visit to Kew, which is lovely in the summer. A lot of people have left. It's still very warm and nice. It's a bit more peaceful. And I haven't been in here for about 10 days or so, which by my standards is a long time. As this time last week I was in Dublin, obviously. So it's nice to be back. It's a bit of a late flying ant day for these guys. They're all just coming out. There's a few over there as well. There's now one on my iPhone. Hang on a moment. There we go. Yeah, usually it's the first hot day after the solstice, which is like a couple of weeks ago now. So we're all off to Switzerland a week tomorrow. And if you know me, or if you've watched these vlogs for any length of time, you'll know that we very often go to Switzerland. Usually every year. Not entirely, like myself and Crystal did last year, but nobody else did. And we went to a different part of Switzerland, which really, you know, put the cat amongst the pigeons. But, so we are all, and by all I mean myself, Crystal and Bump, Alexander and the boys, and my parents, going to the bit of Switzerland that we've been going to, well, I've been going to since I was 4, I think. And the reason that we go there so much is I don't know if I've ever actually, I don't think I've ever really talked about it on the vlog. Forgive me if I have, but it's a short story, but it gives you a bit of context. So after the Second World War, my mum's family was sort of scattered across the globe, as was the case for a lot of Jewish families. They'd all got out and they'd just gone to wherever they could find that was a safe place to stay. So there were bits in the UK, as you might imagine, and there were bits that had gone to the US, and there were even bits that had gone to Argentina. And they figured that they needed to try and kind of see each other. It was quite difficult in those days to sort of regularly travel transatlantic. We're talking in the sort of mid-50s and what have you. So my mum's uncle, my granddad's brother to be precise, used to travel around a lot. He was a salesman for a fashion label, and he decided that a good neutral place to meet everybody was back in Europe but in Switzerland. And so he went looking for somewhere that he could find that the family could come and stay over summer. And he found a chalet in a town called Schönried, near Gstaad, before Gstaad was anything, and rented it. And my mum grew up going there with her parents, seeing her aunts and uncles and her grandparents, the ones that were still around. And when we were born, myself and Alex, we went there first in 1984 and carried on the tradition, even though some grandparents had since left us, as well as some older aunts and uncles, and it was us plus my Aunt Elizabeth, great Aunt Elizabeth, and my great uncle and great aunt used to come occasionally from the East Coast as well. And we just kept going, and when we sort of outgrew the place because the beds were a bit short and the bedding was a bit odd, we looked for somewhere else, and my grandparents actually had found a place in the next valley in St. Stefan, which is where we still go, although not to the same chalet, but to the same town. And we've been kind of going there ever since, and it's kind of a family gathering more than anything, even though the majority of the family is all within like 20 miles of central London now. But it was a kind of traditional getaway spot, and that's why we still go. And I've just been in contact with the owners of the original chalet that we used to stay at, and that my mum used to stay at in the 60s, to ask about a poem that my great uncle had written that he'd hung on the wall in the lavatory, because none of us had seen it in years, because we haven't been to the chalet in years, and we wondered whether they still have it, and it turns out they do. So that's quite funny, and we're going to try and get a copy. Six years ago, when I first went freelance, I spent a lot of time in these gardens, a hell of a lot, for the first couple of months, because I didn't have a care in the world, and I had a huge retention bonus payment because I stayed global longer than I'd originally anticipated. And so there wasn't a lot of urgency. It was the beginning of June, and for the first couple of months, really, I spent a lot of time here, enjoying the weather, and then we went on holiday to Switzerland, obviously. And when I came back, that was the first time that reality set in for like what it means to be freelance and the nature of having to get work. And this time of year, I can remember that feeling of like slight horror, but also a sort of acceptance of reality. And I always feel that when I come back from holidays a bit, because when you've got a holiday in the distance, it's kind of, you can just sort of, deal with a bit in between. But when you haven't, it's like a never-ending stretch of time in front of you. Although October the 8th is a very sort of fixed deadline in my mind at the moment, so when we get back, that'll be the next thing. So it's nice to work towards some targets like that. I really thought this week was going to be a relaxing week. How naive. It's just masses and masses of work, and it's all got to be done. And it's coming along, everything's progressing, but it does mean just sitting in the same room staring at the same screen. So you only see me when I escape, which is once every 24 hours. What I have discovered, which will be news to nobody with young children, is that having a baby or having a baby on the way is very similar to being best friends with the most popular kid in school, in that you are popular by association, but only by association. Everyone wants to see you. Well, they don't really want to see you, but that's what they say. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind. I'm quite happy with popular by association. I'm quite happy to play a supporting role. So, I'll take any sort of popularity, to be honest. So it's working quite well, but I should imagine it'll become more pronounced when they're actually here. I'm having a bit of a week of strange drinks. I had like matcha green tea, iced tea on Monday, and then yesterday I decided to have a cherry coke because it was the 80s, and today I've got some sort of weird apple Lucozade thing. They have all tasted like sweets, and they've had a ridiculous amount of sweetener in them. So I think I'm going to go back to water. Something has just dawned on me. I'm a bit slow. So, week today we go on holiday to Switzerland. It's our last holiday abroad of the year, but more likely it's our last holiday abroad, the two of us, ever. Or maybe not ever, but well into the future. And I don't actually know when we're going to go abroad with the little one, but I'm going to guess that we might be able to get away around our anniversary next year to the Canaries, because that's reasonably low stress. I mean, for us. For everyone else on the plane, it'll be very high stress. Yeah, I don't want to kind of feel like I'm tied to the country just because there's a lot of nappy changing to be done. But we'll have to see. So I've spoken about the dragons on here before and how they were made, and I went to the unveiling of one of them, and they're all this sort of dark but sort of lacquered green with gold, all except one. This one has been added recently to replace the dragon that was designed by the kids, and you might notice, it might show up, that it's a much lighter green and less lacquered, and that's because it's been painted with the original paints that would have been done when the dragons were first in place a very long time ago. And it's an experiment to see how it weathers, which will maybe tell us a little bit about what happened to the original ones as opposed to these ones, which are very much weatherproofed. That was a pretty good walk all in all. I feel, as always, a bit more refreshed. My brain is at rest. Now I can concentrate on the jerk pork that I had left earlier, and obviously do more changes to these stupid videos, because, you know, every time I get a client through this channel, they don't understand that you can't just keep changing things forever if you actually want to release it. Look at this, it's been a while. This is rain. I know I'm being slightly sarcastic, but it is needed. It's not like last summer, but still, it's been about 10 days and the grass has started to go a bit brown, so it's nice. It needs to happen. It's going to be beautiful this afternoon, so I'll take it. Good afternoon. I am on the way to Teddington for my final RHP event of the quarter. It is the AGM. At the AGM I have to be re-elected in order to continue to sit as a board member and to take up my appointment as chair of the service delivery committee. So that is where I'm going. Also, a couple of our board members stood down, so we had a leaving do when I got back from where was I? Dublin, and that was great fun, although I was absolutely shattered. So this will be the last opportunity to actually see them for the time being, although Angelica, who is the current chair of the service delivery committee that I'm taking over from, I'm going to be meeting up with in a few weeks to do a sort of formalised handover. For the time being, it's quite overcast, which is pleasant. It's warm and it's a nice day for a walk. It's so nice and peaceful in Richmond Park when you've had days of sounds. That's what the nature of editing is. It's constant noises, so, and distractions for your eyes. This is so much more peaceful. So it's nice to be able to walk to the AGM, and the sun's just coming out, and it rained this morning, so the grass smells amazing. It is just lovely. And the sort of gentle sound of the birds and the wind, and the smells remind me of Switzerland, where we will be, we'll be in Italy this time next week. We'll be in Switzerland on Saturday, or rather a week on Saturday, I should say. But hopefully we'll get to do some nice walks. I'll get to put the drone up. There's quite a few restrictions in Switzerland, but it's a small drone and that excludes you from a lot of them. You just have to use a bit of common sense as well. You know, keep an eye on aircraft if you see them coming in, and make sure you're not near active runways and those kind of things. But I've never flown a drone in the mountains. It could be amazing. Look at that. Looks like some sort of primordial scene, doesn't it? I mean, it's not, it's just a small lake with some benches around it. But it looks great. That's where I'm going, into the woods. Here we are, Ham and Twickenham from above. There's a lot of green, as you can see. There's obviously some reasonably ugly skyscrapers, and you can probably make out the Twickenham Stadium, which isn't the prettiest thing, but it's still very nice. And if you look at the foreground, it's very pleasant indeed. That's where I'm going, ish, kind of that way. Wildlife is impressive today. That's where the young are chilling, having a nibble. Not that bothered by the police, it would seem. They're mostly roe deer, but I can see one red deer right at the back, which is a bit confusing. But I believe they crash together, which is unusual. Morning. Happy Friday. It does actually feel like a Friday, which is good. Today I'm at WebVid recording some podcasts and whatnot. The weather is about to turn from very pleasant over the last few days with the occasional shower in the morning to rain constantly and thunderstorms for about 24 hours, maybe slightly more. I'm not sure I'm mentally prepared for that, to be honest. I'm like, oh, summer, isn't it great? So that'll be alarming. It should be in full effect by the time I come home this evening. So that means I should do a word of the week. And I think the word of the week should be lightning. Should we do lightning? Well, let's do thunder and lightning, because they easily come together. So thunder and lightning, the words of the week. So first of all, in German, thunder and lightning is Donner und Blitz. Donner und Blitz. That is thunder and lightning in German. And in Italian, you would say tuono e fulmine. Tuono e fulmine. That is thunder and lightning in Italian. So there we go. That was thunder and lightning in German and Italian. And that was this week's Words of the Week. Which you'll be seeing probably quite shortly. But for the time being, I'm going to continue my green stroll towards Oval and do some work.